The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind. This would be front and center on your desk if you were working as press secretary, but here's some news on the job numbers. A little bit below expectations. We've had 130,000 jobs this past month. The unemployment rate stays the same. They were expecting about 150,000. What's your reaction to that, Sarah?
Look, I think at the end of the day, there is no question that the president and his administration have turned the country around and put it on the right track. And we're in a place where the economy is still strong. It's still the strongest economy in the world. And we are doing better under this president than we have in the previous 8 years.
Not true.
He has created over 5 million new jobs since becoming president. A lot of those are manufacturing jobs.
Not
and let's
true.
not forget, everybody said that it couldn't be done, that manufacturing was dead in this country and it couldn't be revived.
No, you
And
needed
the
a magic wand.
You needed
to
a
do
magic
that.
wand to do it. Well, we found one in President Trump, and he's waved the magic wand, and he's brought manufacturing back to this country.
Oh, for God's sake.
Seriously. It's not true. None of that is true. Manufacturing is in a recession. We're in the middle of a 6-month slump in manufacturing. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, you bastard. Hello. Hello. Yes. We lost 6,000 manufacturing jobs in the month of March. In this past month of August, they lost 6,000 mining jobs. More miners were employed under Barack Obama than were employed currently under Donald Trump. And manufacturing is in a recession, an actual slump. An actual growth has slowed in that sector. We got a jobs report today. About 35,000 jobs were created by the government. What? Yeah, census takers. Yes, get ready, everybody. Census takers without the citizenship question. And so if you subtract those 35,000 from the total 130,000, which, always gets revised down. Our GDP just got revised down. It was pretty putrid and tepid to begin with. It was 2.1. They just revised it down to 2. 2% growth. 2%. Whatever happened to, we passed these tax cuts, 4, 5% GDP. Yeah, we got revised down. And payrolls grew in the last month under 100,000 jobs, 96,000, the lowest pace since February. And then in March, we lost 6,000 manufacturing jobs, mostly in the auto sector. Now, how does that happen? How can American industry contract in an era in which it receives this crazy support from the president? The answer, it's all bullcrap. You know what the real unemployment rate is? You remember how when Barack Obama's numbers were coming, they go, but the real unemployment rate, you got all these people that are working part-time that really want full-time. That's the real unemployment rate. That's the real one. You know what the real one is? 7.2% unemployment. That accounts for people who are discouraged or underemployed, meaning people have part-time jobs, they want full-time jobs. 7.2% is the real number. Listen, this is and she made her debut. That was the Sarah. She made her debut this morning on the faux news, on the Fox. A vowel movement away from what it actually does to the news.
They finally have a reason for me to watch, Randi. I got to be honest.
Oh, that's right. Oh, for all you free speech TV listeners, viewers who have never heard from Brett on Sarah on the topic.
I missed her, Randi, and frankly, I'm happy to have her back.
It's his wheelhouse. He's got a type. My lovely Brett, who runs our board. It's Brett and Scotty. Brett has the hots for Sarah. He thinks she's amazingly hot. I don't know which side he likes. Left side or right side, Brett?
Whatever side's looking at me, Randi.
He really does. He digs her and digs her deeply. He adores. And you remember when, what's her name, Wolf, the comedian, Trash Sarah with the smoky eye? Oh, I think Brett went into like mourning for a week. I mean, every time I would play, I played it over and over again because I just like to see him weep. But for Free Speech TV viewers, yes, our board op Brett has a thing, a real thing. I mean, like a true, undying, passion for the Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Now, hey, Brett, this is going to be like I could read you like a book, but this one you're going to want to read in bed. Sarah is writing her memoir about her time in the White House.
I couldn't be more all in, period.
So let me ask you this. So what if Sarah writes a book and it's really like The Shining, right? And she's sitting at the Overlook Hotel and all that comes out in the book over and over again is like, the president's comments speak for itself. The president's comments speak for themselves. The president's
You're trying to ruin this for me. You're trying to ruin this. I'm not going to let you do it. She's got the high production value wardrobe and I'm feeling it.
But, it's supposed to be a tell-all, and she'll tell nothing. This book is such a waste of paper. Like, why deforest North Carolina for a book that's going to be like, I defer to the president. I defer to the president's words speak for themselves. You have to contact the outside lawyers. I mean, it's going to be page after page of tell nothing. I don't understand. Why should we waste? So Brett could read in bed, I guess, is what it is. So she says, oh, yeah, the president, he was the key that unlocked the door to this manufacturing renaissance that never occurred. It didn't occur. I was looking at the numbers. 5.3% of people worked in manufacturing during the Obama years, 2016 to 2018, and we've lost almost all of that improvement in the manufacturing sector. We're now in negative territory. And she's sitting on the Fox trying to promote her, Tell Nothing book by lying. Again, I'm sorry, Brett, but, maybe you like a woman that looks, I don't know what it is. I mean, some guys like women that lie to them. I'm thinking of a great lie that I've told in my life. Just do the math. If you think it's never happened to you, most women said that they have. And, most men, say it's never happened to them. How is that possible? So here's the August jobs report.
CNBC's Sarah Eisen at the New York Stock Exchange has the numbers. Sarah, what are they?
Well, Mika, there's been a bit of a slowdown in hiring in the month of August. 130,000 jobs created. Economists were looking for a number more around 150,000 jobs. Also want to break apart business and government because it's important. Government contributed 25,000 of those jobs, temporary hiring due to the 2020 census. So if you strip it out, you want to get a sense of where business is going right now. Business added 96,000 jobs in the month of August. That's actually the fewest number since May. But it's not like it points to an imminent recession or anything. There's still signs of a very healthy labor market here. For instance, the unemployment rate still at 3.7%. That's near a 50-year low. Wages are rising slowly in this country. And in fact, they came in better than expected. 3.2% higher in August than they were last year, about 0.4% higher than they were last month. So that's good. The labor force participation rate is growing. More people are entering into the labor force. But all in all, this does mark a bit of a slowdown from recent months and from last year, where we...
It's not good. Your wages went up 0.4 points, and this is the good news for you. CEO salaries have gone up like 50, 90%. Yeah, some crazy ass number. Oh, please. So we've lost 6,000 mining jobs. Manufacturing is in a deep, deep recession. The jobs that we have, service sector jobs, although retail is also down. Manufacturing declining. Mining lost another 6,000 this month. Transportation down, that's trucking. Utilities lost 11,000 jobs. Logging minus 5,000 jobs.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Now, before we get to our guest, let me address one glaring example of fake news media bias. Pretty much every newsroom in America screwed this up and lied to you by accusing the president of lying. Now, the president issued this tweet. Oh, look at that. That's from, I think, August 29th and 30th.
No, it's the
proving
28th.
the president what he said about the earlier models about Hurricane Dorian, that it might hit Alabama, is true. But if you watch the media mob, you would think the president was lying, as they always do. Just another absurd example of Trump derangement syndrome. Take a look.
Oh, my God.
The White House is falsifying weather reports so that it doesn't have to admit the president, who spent the weekend golfing, was not up to date on the storm's forecast.
Exactly.
Donald Trump is not the sharpest Sharpie in the drawer.
This really fits a pattern of the president putting out misleading information.
The initial reaction is to laugh out loud. It's laugh out loud funny. It's so absurd. But the other aspect of it borders on being truly dangerous.
The Democrats keep looking for an impeachment inquiry to go. This is actually against the law. And this might actually be crumbs for them to say, wait a second, you know?
Well, it's right there. A lot of psychotic jackasses in the media mob. I'm sure we'll get their apology.
God.
That'll be forthcoming. Wish I had time to name every name.
So that man has sold his soul, which we're all clear about, right? Yes. And the other hosts on the same channel were pointing out how Donald Trump using outdated information. You know, hurricane reports, I have to just tell you, they come out at least 4 times a day in the lead up to the hurricane. And by the time Trump had tweeted out the tweet that Alabama and gave the FEMA briefing that Alabama was in the cone of uncertainty, the forecast clearly showed Alabama was not. So at the time that he was saying Alabama was not. And every other host on his network, I have to say, was trashing what Donald Trump was doing, because it's dangerous what Donald Trump is doing. First of all, while he was doing that, you know, you had a catastrophic event happening. Like, you know, the Bahamas is like 60 miles from where I am. You realize how close that was. It was 60, the Bahamas, I hate to talk about it in the past tense, but Freeport, Bahamas, Grand Bahama Island, is literally, you could do it in a day. You take your boat and you go to the Bahamas. People do it here all the time. In fact, that's what people here are doing now. They are loading up their boats and they are bringing generators, clothes, food, water, you name it. The high school around the corner from my house is collecting all kinds of supplies. And because we stocked up on so many supplies, I mean, we were like stocked up better than any prepper in freaking Wyoming ever thought of being stocked up. So we're giving our stuff to the high school, who are arranging for the stuff to be brought over by the trucks of the sea, boats, which Donald Trump couldn't figure out. And they're already telling us right now to prepare yourself for an unimaginable death toll number. That's what they're telling us about Abaco and Grand Bahama, that we should prepare ourselves for an unimaginable number when it comes to the death toll. Now, you know, at the beginning of the hurricanes, the death toll, I mean, Trump stuck to the 16 people died in Maria when the true number had already surpassed 3,000. That is why it's dangerous. You have you have a rear admiral from the Department of Homeland Security, a terrorism expert, right, who provided cover for Donald Trump's ridiculous story, which is now in day 4. He's still doing it. He's still insisting that Alabama was somehow targeted by this storm all these many days later. It's just so sick. And we have a catastrophic incident just 60 miles off of our coast. We were so close. Listen, I don't know why or how we got so lucky here, but just a slight jog of this storm, and you would have been looking at my house on the TV. You would have been looking at an unimaginable death toll in my neighborhood, because we were smack in the bullseye if this thing jogged just a couple of miles, like 20 miles more to the east. An idiot boy who has a house there. You know what the thing, though, about Mar-a-Lago is? You know what? You want to know a detail you need to know? Because I saw a lot of tweets about Mar-a-Lago, and stuff. I just want you to know it is an historic residence. Yeah, it belonged to Marjorie Merriweather Post of the cereal fortune. Like Post Toasties and stuff, like, Post cereals. So that was her house. And it was declared an historic monument, basically, to robber barons. I don't know. And so if something happened at Mar-a-Lago, guess who gets stuck with the tab to rebuild it? We do. Exactly. Yes, we do. So what does he care? What does he care if the house got trashed? So just keep that in mind every time you wish ill on that house, because you will pay to replace it. But this idiocy has been going on as long as the hurricane itself has been going on. And I got to tell you, North Carolina, South Carolina, flooding, Charleston, flooding, North Carolina, Cape Hatteras, Cape Fear, all those places. We were just hoping that North Carolina didn't get hit so hard that it looked like the gerrymandered maps that the Republicans made out of that place, So while all this is going on, and literally people are dying, I heard stories of people being flung in Grand Bahama, people being flung into pine trees and sleeping in the pine trees for 2 days without being able to locate their son. They couldn't find their wife. They couldn't find their daughter. I mean, this is just, and Trump, like his whole thing is, I'll go to Puerto Rico, I'll throw paper towels. And then he says, only 16 people died. I want my paper towels back. Do you know what I mean? All right, they still got free paper towels. So South Florida was about to become the next Puerto Rico. The Bahamas did become the next Puerto Rico. We got climate change issues that are just so obvious to anybody who will look at it. And this man is sitting on the TV drawing Sharpie drawings on official weather maps, which, by the way, that map that he relied on in the first place, that was not drawn by the National Weather Service. That was drawn by the Florida Water Management District. South Florida Water Management District. So why was he relying on the South Florida Water Management District's map, which also needed a Sharpie marking on it in order to make him a truth teller, instead of NOAA or instead of the National Weather Service or any of the... I mean, it's very sick. It's very, very sick. But the reason why this is dangerous is because it's confusing people. People think, it's going across Florida, it's not coming up the coast, and so maybe somebody in North Carolina that only ever watches Fox News, who's about to get hit, they think, no, it's going west, it's going into the Gulf. It was never going into the Gulf. This is so dangerous, I swear to God. And so you have a Rear Admiral, his name is Rear Admiral Peter Brown. He's a Homeland Security advisor, and he gave cover to Trump's story. So everybody, expect to hear Rear Admiral Peter Brown as acting secretary of something or other very soon.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
And it may get a little piece of a great place. It's called Alabama, and Alabama could even be in for at least some very strong winds and something more than that.
Well, that was wrong.
Yes.
It gave birth to a lot of very funny memes.
Yes.
But the subject of the goof was too serious, so the National Weather Service swiftly corrected him, issuing a statement from the office in Birmingham. Alabama will not see any impacts from Dorian. We repeat, no impacts from Hurricane Dorian will be felt across Alabama. That could have been it. The end of it. Everybody makes mistakes. Instead, the next day, the president blamed the media for his own inaccurate warning and then started to rewrite history on the matter. Yesterday, it continued, and he added doctored graphics to the narrative. The president on television took a National Hurricane Center forecast that somebody had doctored with a Sharpie or something. The forecast showed East Coast Dorian the Sharpie's magical addition added the coast of Alabama on the Gulf Coast, completely Dorian free. Why would the President of the United States do this?
Yes.
He decries fake news that isn't and disseminates fake news that is. Think China pays the tariffs.
Right.
The wall is going up.
Right.
Historic inauguration crowds.
Right.
Russia probe is a witch hunt.
Right.
You need an ID to buy cereal.
Right.
Noise from windmills causes cancer. It's
Yes.
endless.
Endless.
And now the Sharpie map that hurricanes Alabama. A reporter asked him about it.
That map that you showed today, it looks like it's almost like a Sharpie.
I don't know.
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
But he won't let it go. Yesterday, he brought out another map and a statement that reads, "This was the originally projected path of the hurricane in its early stages. As you can see, almost all models predicted it would go through Florida and hitting Georgia and Alabama. I accept the fake news apologies." This is one where he can apologize and just move on.
Yes.
That map was from the day hurricane became a hurricane, 8 days ago,
Yes.
August the 28th. It was 4 days old. At the precise time, he said Alabama would likely be hit harder than anticipated. And by then, it was fake news defined on a very serious subject. Yet he forged on. This morning, another statement. What I said was accurate. It wasn't, and it isn't.
That is insane. That is absolutely crazy, and it's scary, and it's dangerous. It truly is dangerous because you have people out there who are depending on, getting the right information, knowing to board up their houses, knowing to go to high ground, knowing to evacuate, knowing to take your pets, knowing to get your elderly people together, knowing to get cash from an ATM, to gas up their cars, to get in a line. I mean, there's so much that goes into the preparation. It's just one of those things that, it takes time, takes effort, and takes some money in order to do. And the president is sitting there lying about the storm's path while the storm, at the time that he decided to include Alabama, Alabama had already been excluded. And all these days later, I remember, last weekend, we were getting ready to leave for Labor Day weekend, and I said to you, we're going to be off the air longer than I think because this is a sit and spin. This thing is stalling. It's very slow, and it was a crazy storm. Nobody knew how to predict it. Why? Because of climate change. The steering currents have almost dissipated, and hurricanes don't move on their own. They need steering currents from the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is messed up. So instead of addressing a serious problem like climate change, or a serious problem like evacuations that needed to take place, or a serious problem of gas shortages in Florida, people sitting on lines all day for days on end, instead of that, he includes one of his base states. Don't you get it? He needs Alabama to feel like he's looking out for them. He needs to include Alabama because it's part of his path to 270. Trust me, Kentucky is having second thoughts. Yeah, and West Virginia is having second thoughts. Obviously, Michigan has had second thoughts. 62% of Michiganders say they're not voting for this guy. 62%. All right? You got Wisconsin, they're out. And you've got, Pennsylvania, they're out. Right? So you have the aggregate total from all these three states that made him land on, 304. Because he had two faithless electors who refused to vote for him, even though their states had gone for him. So he had 304 electoral votes. Well, without Michigan, without Pennsylvania, and without Wisconsin, he isn't getting to 270. So he has to, just hope and pray that Alabama is still with him. He's got to, hope West Virginia doesn't turn on him. He's got to hope that Kentucky stays with him. And Mitch McConnell, too. This is sick. And Mitch McConnell is doing absolutely nothing for those coal miners. They are in day 41. Day 41. These coal miners are camping out in a little county called Harlan County, Kentucky. And they got stiffed on their paycheck when their coal company, more coal companies have closed under Donald Trump than had closed under Barack Obama. But Donald Trump was able to lie to those coal miners and tell them it was regulations, Obama's regulations, that were making coal companies shut down. And that was not true. He relaxed every single regulation that the EPA had in place to protect the waterways, to protect from coal ash, to the whole thing. And still, more coal companies are going out of business under Donald Trump than they did under Barack Obama. That's just the truth. So the coal miners in Harlan County are in their 41st day sitting on a railroad track in Kentucky. Why are they sitting on a railroad track? What are they, stupid? No. It's because the coal is being, shipped from the mine on those train tracks. And the coal that's in the cars, the train cars, is worth $1.4 million. And these guys have been stiffed on their paychecks since July. And so they say if they can afford to ship the coal, they can afford to pay us what they owe us for our work getting that coal onto that train car. And it's really emotional and it's pretty heartbreaking, and I feel for them.
Since Monday, miners have refused to clear a path for a train that's carrying the cargo of coal that they helped dig themselves. At the core of the protest, according to the miners' attorney, the nearly $5 million worth of back pay that's owed to Black Jewel employees.
There's a brotherhood amongst coal miners. United we stand, divided we fall.
Brandon Pearson is a plant mechanic who hasn't seen a Black Jewel paycheck in nearly a month and a half.
If it wasn't for people giving me money, just out of the kindness of the heart, just coming up and say, here, this is for you, I don't know what I'll do.
Now, these people have children. These people have cars and homes, and they can't make their payments because this company, Black Jewel, declared bankruptcy and decided not to pay what was owed to these coal miners who are saying, 85% of this county voted for Donald Trump. And they're sitting on the train track saying, we need Donald Trump. Where is Donald Trump? We're not blaming Donald Trump, which is kind of kooky. But they want Donald Trump to do something. 1,700 employees there are out of work and need their back pay.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
There's no shortage of help coming from neighbors. After all, it's what makes this part of Appalachia so resilient. But there seems to be a voice that's missing among the support, says Pearson.
Of clean, beautiful coal.
No such thing.
One that promised to be there for people like him.
We need Donald J. Trump to come to coal country. We voted for that man. And he said he would be here for coal miners. I've seen him with the UMWA hat on. I've seen him with the hard hat on, said, I'm here for you. We're going to make America great again. We're going to put people back to work again. And I'm not blaming this on him. This is not his fault in any shape, form, or fashion. Because I know he's there for us, and we need him here.
Pearson and the rest of the miners that CNN spoke to all agreed the president has provided an economic second wind to their industry.
Y'all put it on, right?
But they fear that Trump's promise has done very little to help them out in this particular crisis.
I seen where he just, he was trying to work on getting a young rapper out of jail or prison in another country, and I know he had some celebrity influences in that, but we need bailed out. We need something, and we just need him to be here for us.
Black Jewel is yet to respond to CNN's repeated request for comment. An attorney representing some of the miners says legal action is being pursued in an attempt to recover the wages and their benefits.
This is sick and sad. And, this is, what the president of the United States has done 6 times. They declare bankruptcy and then they say, oh, well, we can't pay what we owed you for your work before we went bankrupt. Also, we didn't put any money into your health care, so you don't really have any. And then you have epidemics of black lung. This guy sitting on the TV, he has got 6 kids, 6 children. And you're watching, coal mining just disappear. And, of course, the president is not interested in any new technologies that could be based in those counties, there's 26 counties in the United States that are coal mining counties, and they're dependent on coal mining. And those counties have, skills. They've got people who know how to use large machinery. They got people that know how to, throw their back into work. They have people that could assemble wind turbines. They have all kinds of people there who could do these kinds of jobs if there was an investment in clean energy and we could transition from dirty, disgusting coal. Because, these guys, they sit next to their own streams and they see that their streams are orange from acid mine drainage. They see it. They know it. Black lung diseases everywhere. It stole the breath of, too many of these coal miners. And now the companies say, oh, guess what? We didn't pay anything into your health care fund. And Mitch McConnell knows this. And this is Kentucky. And he's done absolutely nothing. And these coal miners were up on Capitol Hill. I told you. They were up on Capitol Hill. They were trying to get Mitch McConnell to act on their behalf, to get their back pay, to tell these coal mining companies that they couldn't sell the carloads of coal until they agreed to pay them what they owed. And Mitch McConnell did absolutely nothing. And last year in West Virginia, Trump held a rally, and he told the people in West Virginia that coal was back. Coal had come back, and it's just, it's the best ever, and everybody's going back to work, and it's a tremendous form of energy.
We have clean coal exports have increased 60% last year. Clean coal.
Not true. There's no such
one of
thing.
Our big assets that we weren't allowed to use for our miners. You remember Hillary with the coal, right? Sitting with the miners at the table. Remember, that wasn't so good for her. So the people of West Virginia and all over, you look at Wyoming, you look at so many different places where Pennsylvania, where they loved what we did. And it's clean coal, and we have the most modern procedures, but it's a tremendous form of energy in the sense that in a military way, think of it, coal is indestructible. You can blow up a pipeline. You can blow up the windmills.
What is
the
he
windmills.
talking
Boom, boom, boom. Bing, that's the end of that windmill. If the birds don't kill it first.
This man is dangerous. He truly is. I mean, you've got all these different things that are, how many signs do you need that global warming is real? California, people that lived in paradise can't live there anymore. The whole East Coast, the Atlantic coast of the United States, people are wondering, where can we live? How close can we live? Do we need seawalls? What do we need to do? The weather forecasters, the guys at NASA, the guys at the National Weather, they're all saying, watching these storms, year after year, this has been the fourth consecutive year with a Category 5 storm, and the storms intensify much quicker than they used to. So they develop in the Atlantic. They're not even coming off the coast of Africa. And in the first 24 hours, they go from tropical storms to Cat 5s. There's no steering currents in the atmosphere, so they sit wherever they are. They move a mile, 2 miles an hour. I mean, it's just so unbelievable. And this man is not interested in telling the truth about there's no such thing as clean coal, that we should transition, that there's plenty of jobs to be created in Appalachia. There's plenty of jobs to be created in West Virginia. There's plenty of jobs to be created in Kentucky. If only he would work on it and invest the money in Infrastructure Week. I mean, I told you we have, 10 million lead pipelines in this country that need to be replaced. They were put underground in the 20th century, and they were supposed to last 75 to 100 years. And now time's up. Time to rebuild. And what's happening? Coal-fired power plants are closing all over the country.
What we probably would submit to folks who are wanting to be president of the United States, whether it's Donald Trump or any of the candidates running for office, first of all, let me say, coal's not back. Nobody saved the coal industry. Now, that's a harsh fact, and that's a harsh reality.
That's Cecil Roberts. He is the president of the Coal Miners Association and the Mining Association. Okay, I mean, I don't know who anybody. I mean, how many people are going to listen or know that Cecil Roberts actually said this at the National Press Club if we don't show it to you? But that's just the truth. And the progressives, and there are progressives in Kentucky, and there are progressives in Wyoming, and there are progressives in West Virginia. They want to transition and bring the jobs to these counties. Obviously, they have the ability to move things, right? The roads are good. You got trucking going on there. You got train cars full of coal. So there's a system there to move, manufactured goods. Why couldn't we have those guys? And by the way, I got to say, here are the numbers, okay? This is what Donald Trump said last August in West Virginia. He said, "We are back. The coal industry is back." Well, that was Cecil Roberts a couple days ago going, "Nobody saved the coal industry. We are not back." And in fact, more coal-fired power plants have closed under Donald Trump than during former Obama's administration. And it's because of the cost of things like renewables and liquid natural gas. And this president refuses to acknowledge market forces. He refuses to, react to them. He would rather tweet about Alabama being in Dorian's path. All these days later, it's just so sick. Now, meanwhile, you got real people who are really hard workers, who are really decent people, who are just freaking out and sitting on the railroad tracks, I told you they had to go to Washington in wheelchairs with oxygen tanks. These guys are suffering. There is no clean coal. It doesn't exist. The technology that removes carbon from the burning of coal has not been invented. Meanwhile, these guys had pensions that they were told were theirs. They had, back pay that they have already earned. And Mitch McConnell, their senator, is sitting there letting them starve. Why isn't the United States government in a courtroom arguing on behalf of earned wages? Why? Because they suck on labor laws. They always have. The GOP doesn't give a damn about workers. They've always been very, lax on labor laws. Fair Labor Standards Act. You could invoke that as the leader of the free world and get these miners paid. Here's what one of the miners said: "My family's hungry, man, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to feed them. I will sit here on these railroad tracks till whenever." Now, this county, Harlan County, 85% for Donald Trump. They used to vote. A lot of them voted for Obama. But they believed this line of swill that he was peddling. And there's 26 other counties in this country that absolutely know that coal is not back, and that Mitch McConnell has blocked all meaningful legislation that would protect the labor force that mined that coal, that extracted that coal, that got stiffed on their wages. Anybody who wants to look at it can look at it, and you can clearly see that the GOP has a very poor record of protecting workers' rights, like the right to your earned paycheck. I got to tell you, this is sad. This is really sad.
Mary had a little lamb. The fourth. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
There are several Republican senators facing re-election next year who voted in support of Trump's emergency declaration. And now their states will lose money to build the wall.
Oh, God.
They include North Carolina, Senator Tom Tillis.
Hold on. So the state of North Carolina,
oh my God,
their military bases are going to be gutted.
That's how the president pays you back for your good faith in him.
So $80 million for military construction projects and readiness projects that will not only bring jobs and keep jobs in the state of North Carolina, but will make this country stronger. And Donald Trump is gutting $80 million from Tom Till. As Martha McSally in Arizona couldn't stop Donald Trump from gutting $30 million from Arizona military bases.
Oh, this is rich.
Moscow Mitch, the $62 million, that's actually, we don't know how many rubles that is, but it's a ruble equivalent of $62 million. Corey Gardner, state of Colorado, $8 million stolen from his military projects.
Look who's next.
Lindsey Graham, $11 million stolen from South Carolina. And John Cornyn, $38 million stolen from the state of Texas for John Cornyn.
That's your loyalty pledge.
That's your loyalty pledge. And you know what's really sick about the Colorado situation, Corey Gardner? I told you the story of the cancer clusters that are around these military bases in Colorado specifically. And it's because they have had this foam that they use to fight fires, that the military uses to fight fires in their water supply. And that particular foam is causing kidney cancers. So they need to clean up their water. And Donald Trump is literally stealing from 127 military projects for things like repairs to on-base housing, to the water cleanups that need to be done around military bases where there's cancer clusters. Mitch McConnell's given up $62 million for the state of Kentucky. When I was just telling you about Harlan County in Kentucky, you got the unemployment rate in that county, in Harlan, is 9.4%. You know what the average income is in Harlan for these coal miners who are sick and dying from black lung? $29,000 a year. And they can't, can you imagine living on $29,000 a year and then you get stiffed on pay that you earned starting in July and now it's September? How in the hell do you survive? And no one will step up for them. It's really sick, but here you have all these Republicans who are up for re-election, including Moscow Mitch, including Mitch McConnell. I mean, how in the world can that man win without cheating? I don't know. I honestly don't know. But you've got all of this innovation just ready to launch. See, this is why every single time we have a Democratic president with a decent Congress, okay? Every time the economy percolates. We have had, I mean, there are so many charts and graphs. I tweeted one out last night to Eric Erickson because he's a dumb, you fill it in, okay? He was saying, oh, I don't care. This was his actual tweet. This is a right-wing lunatic, fringy guy, okay? Part of the cult, Cult 45. I don't care about climate change, he said. I don't care. What I care about is that the Democrats are going to crash the economy. As if we ever crashed the economy. As if that is our record. No, it's your record. You need to own it. Almost regardless of how you measure the performance of the U.S. economy, the U.S. economy does better under Democratic presidents. And it has for years. And the difference is big. It's huge. So, for instance, under Democratic presidents, GDP just goes woo through the roof. And under Republican presidents, it tanks. You can use different time periods, different measures. You could aggregate it. You could do per capita income, inflation adjusted or not. No amount of BSing is going to change the facts. No amount of smoke blowing, no amount of lying is going to change the facts that the economy does better under Democratic presidents than it does under Republican presidents. And do you know why? Because Democratic presidents understand emerging economies. They understand where to invest. They spread the money out. They don't give it all to the wealthiest Americans to pad their pockets in order to get donations the way that the GOP does. That's just a fact. There are so many things that you could look at with Democratic presidents versus Republican presidents in the economy. Where we spend our money is probably the most important thing. You know, government spending is a huge, huge thing. If you spend on education, if you spend on healthcare, if you spend on infrastructure, which we desperately need, and if you spend on social support, right? Like we were looking at an article today where the Trump supporters, okay, doesn't anybody wonder, like, who is this Cult 45 and how does he get these people at these rallies and who's going? Yeah, you know what it turns out? They're like old deadheads. Do you know what I mean? They're like that. They literally travel thousands of miles to go to the Trump rallies over and over and over and over and over and over again. About 10% of the people that attend Trump rallies have been to more than 20 Trump rallies. Isn't that crazy? It's like the sickest thing. And when they looked at the profile of these people, like, where do they find the time? They're on disability, or they're on Medicare, or they're on Social Security, or some combination. I mean, this is unbelievable. But the Democrats understand that that they wouldn't have disability. They wouldn't have Medicare. They wouldn't have Social Security if it wasn't for us in the first place. And this is what makes them able to go to these stupid rallies. They go, some people, I swear to God, they're like going to their 50th rally. It's a very sick group. It's like, for the younger people, it's like a Fish concert. You know what I mean? You know what? You need a jam band. The Democrats need their own jam band. But what we do when we spend the money is we don't spend all the money on finance and business. We spread the money around to emerging industries, to fixing what's broken, like infrastructure. And so we put the power of the money in the hands of individuals instead of shoving it into defense, which is where Trump puts it. But what does Trump do? He puts all the money in defense. This is the largest defense budget. I mean, and you know the stat where we spend more than the 10 next industrialized nations combined on defense, right? And so then what does he do? He steals the money from the defense budget to pay for the stupid wall. The stupid wall takes it out of defense projects that would repair the infrastructure for the military. I mean, I could play you this testimony over and over again. It's just amazing. These women who are living in base housing where termites are falling from the ceiling and mold is growing on the wall in the laundry room where their children play with their toys. And the electricity, the electrical systems are catching on fire, and it's just unsafe. But instead of investing, he steals the money from these projects, and then he says something to you like, they'll backfill it. They'll take the money now and put it in the wall, and then they'll backfill the money. Do you know what that means? It means they'll pay for it twice with the original money disappearing. That's what backfilling means. But it sounds like a handy-dandy term that sounds okay. It's not okay. They appropriate the money for defense projects, then they take the money out of the defense projects, and they say they backfill the defense projects, meaning they'll pay for it twice, but the original money was stolen. That's what I'm telling you. In chaos, they can steal. And this is how they steal. It's just one of the many ways they steal. But we actually spend our money where the money is truly productive, on things that human beings actually want and need. That's the difference. When money goes to millions of individuals instead of corporate interests.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
According to a new list published by the Department of Defense, there are 127 military construction projects being delayed as the agency moves $3.6 billion to pay for the wall. Puerto Rico is one of the hardest hit, obviously. More than $400 million meant for 10 construction projects on the island will be diverted, including money for a power substation and a National Guard readiness center. So Mexico isn't paying for the wall. No. It's Puerto Rico.
But he said, believe me.
It's the National Guard.
Believe me.
The diversions will also impact 23 states, with New York and New Mexico both represented by Democrats taking the brunt of the blow. New York is set to lose $160 million for construction projects at the West Point Military Academy.
Oh, great.
So he's stealing from West Point.
Mexico is not paying for the wall. It's Puerto Rico and the National Guard, and it's also the U.S. military.
He's stealing from West Point.
It looks that way. Really,
to build the wall that he promised Mexico was going to pay for, to build a wall that Democrats were actually willing to give him $21 billion for.
$26 billion we were willing to give him if he did a clean DACA bill. But instead, who's going to pay for the wall? West Point. Who's going to pay for the wall? The U.S. military. You could see how that did not take off as a chant, can't you? Who's going to pay for the wall? The National Guard. Yeah, it just doesn't have the same feeling that, gives these people who go to 50 rallies while their Social Security checks are coming in. Yeah, 50 rallies. They say they get euphoric in these rallies. But it just didn't have the same euphoric feeling, did it, to say, and who's going to pay for the wall? Mitch McConnell's Kentucky coal miners. It's not as uplifting. See, didn't take off. $3.6 billion. That's what's going to be taken away from 127 projects at U.S. military bases. And the good news for us, who care about no more years of this, who can't stomach the thought of any more years of this, is that he's taking it from places where GOP senators are up for re-election. That's good for us. And that explains why so many Capitol Hill Republicans are not running again this year.
So one of the reasons is if you're a safe Republican like Sensenbrenner, you realize that the Republicans are unlikely to win the House back.
Yeah.
You're going to be in the minority again, and you're either going to be serving with a Democratic president or with Trump again. And if you don't look at Trump the way that Mike Pence looks at Trump, that might not be a good outcome for you. So that's one reason they're leaving. The other reason that they're leaving is they think they're going to have trouble winning their own re-elections, and that's true for several of the House members from Texas. Will Hurd being one of them.
Look at all of them.
Just saw today the president took money from a military construction project in his district at the joint base in San Antonio to put it toward a border wall that the constituents in Will Hurd's district don't want along the Texas border. Or even perhaps you might see yourself losing re-election in a primary. Congresswoman Martha Roby, whose Alabama 2nd District would have been in the path of Hurricane Dorian's Sharpie down in southeast Alabama. She decided earlier this year that she wasn't going to seek re-election, might have been vulnerable to a primary. She had difficulty with that in 2018. But either from a personal loss reason that you might not return yourself or just looks like you're not going to have any power anytime soon, a lot of House Republicans are heading for the exit.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Now, if those people who have to raise money to get reelected are saying, oh, I can't get reelected, there's no money for us, the donors have dried up, nothing good is happening, the economy is tanking, his ridiculous trade war is killing industry, the manufacturing sector is in a recession, literally, 6-month slump, that is a recession. Coal mines are shutting down, declaring bankruptcy, stiffing the workers. The only jobs in this country are either in professional services or in healthcare. Everybody else is getting, shut down, shut out. You got pockets of this country that have 9.7% unemployment, 7.2% unemployment. Everything this man says is a lie. He's, an embarrassment. He can't tell the truth. He is, engaged in some self-inflicted wound with this ridiculous trade war of his that has sucked out $200 billion from this here country. $850 billion has been sucked out of the global economy. That's almost $1 trillion out of the global economy because of his stupid trade wars. And then you also have this Brexit deal, which is part of this white nationalist populist crap that Nigel Farage and Cambridge Analytica and Steve Bannon and Viktor Orban of Hungary and Donald Trump from America are all, pushing to have happen. And that will destroy the European economy, who is also a big trading partner with the United States. He's attacked Mexico, which is the biggest trading partner that the United States has. Yeah. And he's just trashing the economy on purpose. On purpose. And it's just like I told you, and I keep on saying it. He creates chaos so that he can steal. In chaos, you can steal. And he is stealing, and he's stealing from money that was duly appropriated to the military, like it or not. That's where that money was sent by Congress to be spent to fix base housing, to fix water systems that are completely and utterly polluted, cancer clusters, electrical, wiring that is catching fire for these, families. I mean, on and on it goes, right? And he's stealing the money from there to build a vanity project. We're going to have to drill down deep on these 12 contractors. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's 12 contractors who have been awarded the contracts to build the stupid wall. And they're in weird places. They're like in North Dakota and South Dakota, places where he needs to win. But he's stealing the money from things we have to do for the actual people who are the military. The president loves hardware. People, not so much. And the people in the military who make the military, are literally dying. Same with the coal miners. And they just steal the money. They just steal it out from their pension funds. They steal it out from their healthcare funds. They steal it from their paychecks. That's what they do. And that's why economies don't do well under Republicans. They're crazy. They're lunatics. They pay themselves and nobody else. And the way that Democrats invest in America, the way that we give people the ability to self-support while they're transitioning, or while they're healing from some disability, it makes the economy work because 2/3 of what goes on in our economy is consumer driven. The more money in more hands that buy things, the better the economy is. Oh, we'll backfill. That just means you're going to have to pay the military twice now. Even though you thought what we were doing with the money to the military was exorbitant to begin with. Now he's going to steal the money from the military. You're going to have to pay it back, and the money disappears.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. I'm really worried about it. I feel sorry for the president. And that is not the way we should feel about the most powerful figure in this country. Somebody on whose wisdom and judgment our lives literally depend. I don't know if he felt it necessary to pull out a Sharpie and change the map. I don't know if it was one of his aides believed they had to do that in order to protect his ego. No matter how you cut it, this is an unbelievably sad state of affairs for our country. If our presidency is not in good shape, then our country is not in good shape. And on one level, it's laughable. On another, it is exactly why we've got to do something different. And by the way, I also think it's why you're seeing a lot of independents and people who have voted Republican over the years saying, you know what? This has become something we've all got to pull together and create an alternative to, because we just, as a country, cannot go on with these. This is humiliating. This is an embarrassing moment for our country, and we seem to see a new national embarrassment every day.
I am the chosen one.
Seriously, dude. I mean, every day. That is a great slogan for Donald Trump. Donald Trump, I feel sorry for you. You know what I mean? I feel sorry for you. Donald Trump, it's humiliating. I mean, that would be global. That could be good. Or Donald Trump, sad. He's a bad, sad man, is what he is. That's all he is. He's just a bad, sad man with a bunch of deadheads or fish fans. I don't know what you want to call these people, but the Wall Street Journal, the Wall Street freaking Journal, they have the most amazing article. It is in the homework section today. If you go to randyrhodes.com, go to the homework, just click on homework, and you'll see this in the homework section. It's a Wall Street Journal article by Mike Bender, and it's called "It's Kind of Like an Addiction on the Road with Trump Rally Diehards." Now, he's got a rally next Tuesday. And then next Tuesday, we have a debate. I mean, next week's going to, and I expect the House Democrats to start putting out witness lists of who they think they can get without having to go to court to talk about impeachable offenses. And by the way, high crimes and misdemeanors. Donald Trump did doctor that map. Somebody in the White House actually told that to what's his name over at CNN? I just blanked out on his name. One of the reporters at CNN. They had emails, internal emails, about what was going on with that weather map, and they leaked them to freaking CNN. That's amazing.
The Washington Post reports this morning that it was President Trump himself who marked up that official weather map with a black Sharpie, trying to get people to believe his false claim. CNN has learned that the president called a Fox reporter into the Oval Office to argue that the facts were not the facts.
Yeah, and that reporter was, John Roberts. And John Roberts got on the TV last night, and he was like, I don't know.
At the same time, all of this is churning out in the Atlantic Ocean. The president continues to defend a tweet that he sent out on Sunday morning in which he said Alabama could possibly get some damage from Dorian. The president tweeting Alabama was going to be hit or grazed, and then Dorian took a different path up along the East Coast. The fake news knows this very well. That's why they're the fake news. A bit of a controversy has erupted over this because at his hurricane briefing yesterday, the president held up a graphic of a 5-day warning cone from last Friday, the 30th, which appeared to have been modified with a Sharpie to extend the bubble out there, as you can see, to include the Florida Panhandle and parts of southern Alabama. The president was asked how that line got there yesterday afternoon. Listen here.
But the original path was through Florida. That was probably 3 days. I think that's probably 3-4 days old. The original path that most people thought it was going to be taken, as you know, was right through Florida, where on the right would have been Georgia, Alabama, etc.
Sorry, and that map that you showed today looked like it almost had like a Sharpie.
I don't know.
The president saying he didn't know how that line got there. The president also tweeted out a graphic of hurricane model plots collected by the South Florida Water Management District to prove that Alabama was at risk, and some of those tracks did come very close to the eastern part of Alabama. But those spaghetti models were from Thursday, August the 28th. By the time the president tweeted about Alabama at 10:51 a.m. on Sunday, the forecast track had moved well east. This is the 8 o'clock in the morning warning on Sunday the 1st, and you can see that they're indicating that Dorian would stay well offshore and well away from Alabama.
So some people are willing to sell their souls, like Sean Hannity and Jeanine Pirro, who was suspended, and and some aren't, like Shepard Smith and John Roberts, who was called into the Oval Office. Okay, and the reason why Donald Trump has this faux concern for Alabama being hit is because he needs Alabama voters. He needs them. He has to, it's part of his how do I put 270 together? How do I do it? Meanwhile, what we're finding out is that the people that go to these rallies, and we're going to experience another one on Tuesday, they're fish fans. They're freaking jam band lovers is what they are. And the Wall Street Journal has an article on who these people are and why they're driving 1,000 miles to go to 29 rallies, 40 rallies, 50 rallies, and how they're affording these trips. And here's a little snippet. The Trump rally diehards, a few dozen men and women who have been to more than 10 rallies, are almost exclusively white. Many of them are recently retired, with time on their hands and little to keep them tied to home. A handful never had children. Others are estranged from their families. Some rely on disability payments. Others sell secondhand items or find odd jobs. And one of them just quit his job and plans to finance his travels to Trump rallies with the remaining $120,000 from his inheritance. Democrats made it possible for these lunatics to stay on the road on Trump tours. They think of it as a tour. One said a middle school teacher at the front of the line in Greenville compared the experience to following Bruce Springsteen. You know, the imagery is not lost on me. In Orlando, they were standing in front of the Amway Center. I mean, this is like a pyramid scheme. It's just so unbelievable. At an Amway Center. I mean, come on. You know, there's a new thing on Showtime. I don't know how many of you have Showtime, but there's this new show with Kirsten Dunst. It's pretty freaking good. It's called I'm Becoming a God in Central Florida, and it's about these pyramid schemes. It's about like an Amway company, except it's called FAM. FAM. Founders American Manufacturing. It's really sick, it's really twisted, and it's really good. These are the people that he appeals to. They're bored out of their minds. One 49-year-old financial manager in Kingsport, Tennessee, has been to 11 rallies. She said, once you start going, it's kind of like an addiction. I love the energy. I wouldn't stand in line for 26 hours to see any rock band. He's the only person I would do this for, and I would be here as many times as I can. And their favorite part of the rally? When he recounts election night. Because they say they get a rush. You come to the show and you know exactly what you're going to get. All the hits, and maybe a few surprises too, like the send her back chant. That was an added extra.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All right, everybody. It's the last segment on a Friday. It's a Friday, you bastards. And this is day 2 of our first pledge drive for Free Speech TV. And as you know, what Free Speech TV is a 25-year-old stalwart progressive television channel that looks to partner with people like me, progressives that work together on the front lines for things like social justice, environmental justice, and we want to spread the word so that people can make the right, informed choices about why the economy does so much better under Democrats than it does under Republicans, et cetera, et cetera. And so they are a major component now of what we do, and we're really glad to be with them, but they need to get paid as well. They need to make some money. They need to support this awesome channel that has lots of bills to pay and 16 unbelievably dedicated humans that, work their hearts out to create a channel that is available to you on Dish Network, 9415 channel, DirecTV, channel 348. It's also on Sling and Roku and Apple TV. And all this distribution, as you know, costs them money. So we don't take salaries from them because we support what they do. And so this is how we contribute. The way you contribute is by calling 877 toll-free, 877-378-8669. Okay, it's 877-378-8669, and you can make a pledge. A little pledge is like $20, and we'll send you a Randi Rhodes bumper sticker. $150 if you can do it. I will send you one of my awesome, awesome hats, my baseball caps. I will send you one of those, and I will autograph it for you. And, you can get a Change the Channel tote for $50 and on and on. There's lots of, little perks that we will send you as a thank you. If you could either go to freespeech.org/donate or just call 877-378-8669. Operators are standing by to take that money off your hands right now. Mick in Denver.
Hi, Randy.
Hey.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
Yeah, thanks for talking about this wonderful economy we're having, but that's not the reason that I called. I just wanted to call. I'll make it quick. I know you're up at the top. I want you guys and everybody to have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Got a kid, really great kid. I work in the trades, okay? And I don't want to let out too much, but after he got out of our apprenticeship, he joined the Army. He went to Ranger School. He graduated top of the rock in Ranger School. He's been to Afghanistan and to Iraq. His mother is a citizen. His father's a green card holder. He was born in Mexico. They want him to go back to Mexico.
They're going to deport him?
More than likely. Well, over my dead body.
Oh, that is just vile. That is hideous.
So, I mean, at $4 billion and families that live in our military installations across the planet are living in many, and I know because I did 22 in the Navy. I know you're a Sumi, so you've been on base.
Oh, God, I lived on base.
And then they take that away?
And it's decrepit. That's the thing people don't understand, that on-base housing is literally decrepit. It's grotesque, okay? And the schools that the kids attend, they're crumbling. They're falling apart. The water is polluted around the bases. All this needs cleaned up. All of these, groups that work to lobby Congress to get the on-base housing up to, some sort of standard. I mean, the Bahamas builds to better standards than the base housing is. And then to have a guy who became an Army Ranger, which is a hard thing to become, to serve overseas in war zones, to be threatened with deportation because what you said is his father is a green card holder.
Yeah.
That is
I don't know, medical benefits and all of that stuff. Maybe those will go away.
Oh, that's sick. That is so freaking wrong. See, this is why the Democrats are better at governing. They offered this idiot president, this lying king, this insane clown posse administration, they offered them $26 billion to build his whole stupid wall if he would give the DACA protection.
Right. Well, that's not good enough for him. You could have given him $260 billion.
No, because he wants the issue. He wants the freaking issue. This is a high-performing thing for him. People at the, in this Wall Street Journal article, people literally were quoted as saying they loved the center-back chants, and their favorite parts is, are the parts where he says you don't have to live with others. Okay, you don't have to live with those other people. They love this issue.
Yeah. Fragmented America is what they want.
Right.
And listen, from the bottom of my heart, I'm so glad that you're on the air and everything because you got a voice, kid.
Thanks.
And we need it every day. And you give me a lot of energy and hope. I don't believe in faith. I believe in hope.
I love you.
But
I feel
I love you too, kid. I'll go to the wall for you if I have to.
Thank you.
Okay, kid. Have a good weekend, everybody, all your crew and everybody.
Oh, you gave me chills. My father used to call me kid. Actually, he called us kiddo. My father was a kiddo guy. Jim in Las Vegas.
Randy.
Yes.
I got one quick question for you. I live here in Las Vegas. Nellis Air Force Base is right here. Why I go to my local gay bar. I love everybody. Why are all these military people? Why do they vote Republican? And I follow your advice. Once you start not arguing, when you start discussing politics, Donald Trump's the best president. The military people, don't they realize?
No, they don't. And I'll tell you something. I don't know if you ever served, but when you're serving, you don't even read a newspaper, okay? You just don't. It's not part
Okay, so why do they all vote Republican? Not all, a majority.
Officers do because they're looking for, a straight path to another bar on their shoulder or a bird on their hat, okay, or a star on their collar. So officers, they play that, butt-kissing game. That's what they do. And the other guys, they're being fed a steady diet of only one party respects the flag. And that's why, if you notice, if you watch a lot of, TV, progressive TV, whatever it is that you're doing, there's always flags waving on Fox News. I think I'm the only progressive broadcaster that actually insists on having a flag in my studio because I served and that flag means something to me. Okay, and I think most people have no idea that the Republican Party has co-opted the flag and made it one of their symbols when it belongs to all of us, okay? And that flag that's behind me, that one right there, that flag actually flew over the Capitol for me and was sent to me. Yes, after it flew for a day over the Capitol. So, but they have co-opted the eagle. They have co-opted the Air Force wings. That's why my logo is, and I called the Air Force and said, can I use this logo? And they said, yes, because it's different than ours. Right? So, yes. And the sergeant, by the way, who worked at the trademark place in the Air Force, told me that he was so glad. He knew who I was. He said, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so glad that you're doing this. And yes, just take one wing off it or add a wing. So if you notice, mine has 3 stripes. The Air Force logo only has 2. So he taught me how to, manage that. But not all people in the military are Republicans.
No. But a big percentage.
Well, I'm telling you what half the problem is.
Well, okay. Well, thank you. Can I ask you one more thing?
Half the problem is that the Republican Party has successfully co-opted the visuals, the flag, the wings. If you look at progressive logos, they're all kind of, that's why mine are the wings. Because I like that. Well, I have a right to them. First of all, I served, and number 2, it's strong. It's strong and it's forceful, and it says I'm proud. I'm proud of what I did. I'm proud of my service. And a lot of Republicans steal all of the visuals and they make it their own, and that's wrong. It doesn't belong to them.
Okay. What? Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. And that's the honest to God truth. Fox News always has the flag waving in the background, right? If you look at, conservative broadcasters, they're always going to have a flag in their studio. None of these people have ever served a day in their life. Rush Limbaugh didn't serve a day in his life. Mike Pence didn't serve a day in his life. I mean, this is crazy. This is absolute mass madness. And the people who did serve, you know what you learn in the military? Classic liberalism. What? Yeah, you know what you learn? The weakest among you can get you killed. So that means that you have to reach down and help that person up and make them stronger, better, fiercer, more able-bodied, or else they'll get you killed. That's classic liberalism. You reach down and you help somebody. Have a great weekend.